The Director General of the Securities and Exchange Commission, Munir Gwazo, has been suspended.
And Finance Minister Kemi Adeosun suspended him in order to allow for unhindered investigation of allegations of financial mismanagement against him. An administrative panel has been set up to investigate and determine the culpability or otherwise of the Director General. Gwazo is accused of collecting a severance package of 105 million naira while still in service.
Yeah. He's also accused of awarding contracts to companies where he's a director, a violation of public service rules and a conflict of interest. Now, 2 other managers of the Securities and Exchange Commission were also suspended.
And that's it right there.
Yeah.
So is this a true reflection of what's been going on over the years in the Securities and Exchange Commission, the regulatory body of the stock exchange? Well, Nelson Ekujimi is still here to look at this. What do you think about this latest revelations?
Well, like I said earlier on, we just finished talking about, what transpired in the civil service. And, like we said, it's a reflection of what happens in almost every facet of our lives. Even the religious institutions themselves are not immune from this rot. It tells you clearly how people abuse public trust, how people don't have respect for their name. There was a time in this country, the most important thing to any family was a family name.
Good name.
But those days are far, far gone. And I just hope we'll be able to reenact such an era. But what it tells you clearly is that, people get into public office and it is no longer about service to the people, but about service to self. And, it's a good development that the minister has exercised her powers under the Constitution in suspending him and, and setting up an inquiry.
All right, but there are also reports that it took the minister 10 months to take this action now. And one would wonder why, if this report was before you and then it's taken 10 months before the suspension is decided.
Well, one should wonder why. But the truth of the matter that one should also excuse is that maybe the minister was studying the report to be convinced on the propriety of, investigating that matter. Maybe she had seen the lights in that matter that, look, it seems there's evidences to back up this issue. That is why she has done the needful. But, in as much as we can quarrel with the time, I think it is, like they used to say, better late than never.
Yeah, but shouldn't it even be a case of systems not being in place to prevent or detect as quickly as possible such fraudulent tendencies within a body like the Securities and Exchange Commission?
Well, these systems are managed by people. And unfortunately, we live in a country today whereby people are even bigger than the system itself, such that they can, because you want to ask yourself, how possible was it for just the DG to have done all that, paying himself several benefits when he's still in active service?
And obviously, he did not do it alone.
Somebody definitely must have, authorized that check before it got to him. So it tells you clearly the need for an overhaul of the system to make it very possible for activities of organizations to become very, transparent and such that, the whistle can quickly be sounded when infractions are about to be committed. It tells you clearly that, there's still a lot of work to be done in the Security and Exchange Commission, as well as the general body polity called Nigeria.
Yeah.
All right, there are reports credited to Munir Gwazo that he said that the money that was paid was for when he was a commissioner, commissioner in SEC, before he became the DG. And as far as the books are concerned, he was entitled as a commissioner, leaving the office leaving that office to be entitled to severance.
Fraudulent tendencies within a body like the Securities and Exchange Commission.
Well, these systems are managed by people. And unfortunately, we live in a country today whereby people are even bigger than the system itself, such that they can, because you want to ask yourself, how possible was it for just the DG to have done all that, paying himself several benefits when he's still in active service?
And obviously, he did not do it alone.
Somebody definitely must have, authorized that check before it got to him. So it tells you clearly the need for an overhaul of the system to make it very possible for activities of organizations to become very, transparent and such that, the whistle can quickly be sounded when infractions are about to be committed. It tells you clearly that, there's still a lot of work to be done in the Security and Exchange Commission, as well as the general body polity called Nigeria.
Yeah.
All right. There are reports credited to Munir Gwazo that he said that the money that was paid was for when he was a commissioner, commissioner in SEC, before he became the DG. And as far as the books are concerned, he was entitled as a commissioner, leaving the office leaving that office to be entitled to severance package.
But we know very well that when he was a commissioner in the same SEC. And we all know what the statute books says. Severance package, what does it mean? When you are severing relationship with a place that you are no more coming back there. But he has been moved from a commissioner to a DG, which is an elevation. So the reason for the alleged, because let us put that word alleged, because it's been investigated.
That's why I said the reports credited to him.
Yes. So the alleged severance package should not have arisen at all.
Because he's still within the system.
He's still within the system. Even if he was moving from SEC to another department within the Ministry of Finance.
Yes.
Or even any other, because as a civil servant, you are not expected to be domiciled in one ministry. You can be moved from ministry X to ministry Y because you are still in the public service. So one wonders how this alleged severance package came about. Also, the conflict of interest, because it's there in the statute books. For you to award contracts, to
your relatives,
to companies in which you had interest, your wives,
yes,
your wives or your relatives, and what have you. And that is why the suspension didn't, catch up with only the DG. It caught up with two other or so persons. So we should allow the committees to do its work and come up, with a diligent report.
If these allegations really are true, especially on the issue of his wife allegedly, being part of all of this, and 10 companies that were given contracts, he actually has interest in these companies. Is this a level of impunity that goes on, not only in, organizations like the SEC?
You remember we had the same case on the former SGF?
SGF, we had
Babachir Lawal.
Yeah, Babachir Lawal. No,
so it's a systemic thing that we're
definitely, because that's why a lot of people have quarreled with the way we operate our systems there, whereby the sole authority resides with just one man. There's nobody that can check that person. Everybody is towing towards the whims and caprices.
So who should be checking the Securities and Exchange Commission, for example?
Well, the stakeholders in the system should be such that when the operations of the SEC is going on, it should be open to every dictum and area. Even you sitting down, because the Stock and Exchange Commission is one in which private or public entities, put up their shares for sale. They manage the capital market.
Yes.
So you expect that, just like they do the trading on the market floor, where all and sundry can see what is going on. That's the same way you expect its activities to be done.
And the ministry overall oversees the entire.
Yes, but the ministry cannot have its eyes everywhere because the place is populated.
It goes back to the systems we're talking about.
Definitely.
So somebody obviously may have dropped the ball.
Yeah.
Who should be ensuring that such acts of fraudulent tendencies don't happen, or at least are minimized, to the barest minimum within, an organization like this. I mean, it's really troubling. SEC is supposed to be supervising seriously the capital market, the stock exchange. But what are the implications of this, especially for, the global community watching and observing and hearing that these things are actually going on within such a vital organ, organization?
The implications are very, very negative and enormous, in the sense that it will drive away investors. They will lose confidence in the system, that if one man or somebody at the saddle of such an organization that is in charge of, how people invest in the country, if it can be alleged of such impropriety.
Yeah.
It means, the system as a whole, is riddled with, a lot of, challenges. And, it has the effect of, driving away people. It also has the effect of, sending a message to people outside there that, look, even if you invest your money or your resources in the system, it means even right there within your own, while you are still existing, somebody can corner your sweat.
Yeah.
So the consequences are better imagined.
All right. There are also reports that this issue we're hearing about Gwazo now is not even the main issue. Okay. The main issue was when Gwazo set up a panel, an audit panel, to audit or forensically audit the first indigenous oil company in Nigeria, and the minister told him to suspend it. And he said, no, I have to go on, I have to do this thing according to the laid down standards. And he was threatened. And here we are.
Well, that is, I want to believe that is in the grapevine. That is information from the grapevine. But be that as it may, these allegations have been raised against the SEC DG. A committee has been set up. Whether the committee will confirm those allegations or disprove it, we wait to see. But those reports that Gwazo wanted to examine
an audit
an indigenous company, we should just hold on, expect that people in that industry, as well as the media, will also beam their searching to.
And so it's not another 2-week, issue that we all focus on, and right after that, everybody forgets about it.
No, it shouldn't be, because if you look at the issue of the Mena Gate we spoke earlier, when it was reinstated, everybody was aghast. The president.
When we heard that he was reinstated.
When we heard, very true. When we heard that he was reinstated, everybody was aghast.
Yeah.
The president asked for his disengagement.
With immediate effect.
With immediate effect, and asked that the circumstances surrounding his reinstatement be investigated. And look at what is coming out now. At first, the Mena's lawyer said he was still in service. He had never been disengaged because he was still receiving salaries. Only for the Minister of Finance, as well as the Accountant General, to come out yesterday and prove with facts. And when Mena's lawyer was even asked to provide his evidences where the man has been receiving salaries, the man was not forthcoming. So it tells you clearly that there's still more that can come out from this
Now
issue.
that the EFCC has swung into action to investigate this, well, you already imagine how much the EFCC has on its plate, and how effectively can the EFCC actually give us closure with this?
The EFCC has so much on its hands, that one can only call on those saddled with the responsibility of our country to ensure that the EFCC as a body is empowered, both materially and humanly, because you want to, and also they should be motivated, because if you employ somebody and you are, the motivation you are giving him is very low, you are telling him to go after cases of billions or trillions, the likelihood, the vulnerability for him to fall to temptations is very, very high. But when he knows he has a stake in the system, such that if he runs foul of the law, he will pay dearly for it. He will cross-examine the pros and cons of falling for those temptations or keeping to the rules of engagement. So I think the FCC has quite a lot on its hand, but the fight against corruption, like we always say, is a collective fight. It's not only those in government, because the resources of Nigeria does not belong to those in government alone. It belongs to everybody. So like with the new policy, when you see any suspected foul play anywhere, I think it is appropriate that you blow the whistle.
So we need to buy whistles for everyone.
Definitely.
Well, the whistleblower thing now is about to to get a bit discouraging.
Well, from the developments of the Ikoyi
gates.
Well, we just hope it will be handled properly. But with these reports now, is it likely that we're going to see some really, or some can of worms are going to be opened on this SEC DG suspension?
We expect that it should be, because the allegations are very weighty, and even the allegations themselves are alleged kind of worms. So we expect that at the end of the day, if there are still worms in the can, that they will crawl out or we'll bring them out. So let's keep our fingers crossed, but let's just be very, very vigilant to ensure that there's no underplay in the unraveling of what transpired.
Yes, indeed. And to what extent really should these investigations even go? Should it just be limited to the Munir Gwarzo case, or the entire SEC really should be under the searchlight of whoever is investigating?
I think it is not out of place for the ministry to beam its searchlight on all its departments and agencies, because it shows clearly, if this could have gone on before now, it shows clearly that the ministry was not, alive to its supervisory responsibility. It means the ministries, not only the Ministry of Finance, as well as other ministries, have to now put their searchlight on all its departments and agencies. Don't forget, there was also the issue of the National Health Insurance scheme, DG, that also was suspended by the Minister for Health. So it tells you clearly that this rot is not limited to just one agency or public institutions. Even in the families themselves, you see such, rot.
All right, it's really a source of concern when sometimes companies who act in the public space, there's going to be an investigation or audit into their accounts and all of that, and they try to get a court injunction for them not to be audited and all of that. These were part of the reports that came out from what we were reading, that the SEC was supposed to audit this oil company, and they went to court. But the High Court said, no, if it's investigation, it has to go ahead. It has
to go on.
The issues of injunction not to be prosecuted, or not to be investigated, where does that take us, really?
That's like using the law against the law.
Exactly.
You see, we operate a constitutional democracy. And under the Security and Exchange Commission Act, any company or any entity in that environment is subject to auditing according to law. So if anybody feels his entity or organization should not be audited and it runs to the court, we also know that the courts are guided by the Constitution. So we expect that when people run to we should encourage people, no matter how flimsy we think their grievances are, let them go to the court. That is the most appropriate and
most civilized
way. Let us allow them. Even if somebody says he has not eaten, let him go to court and say they should give it. No, the courts are
But sometimes the courts grant these injunctions.
Oh, yeah. Well, that is left for us to call on the judiciary to be alive to this responsibility and not to subject itself to the antics or people who want to turn the judiciary into a theater or a movie theater place. The judiciary is a place for serious business. It's an arbiter. And we should not allow anybody to denigrate the judiciary, by playing pranks around it. So that is why, at every point in time, anybody must be allowed, we must give them the benefit of expressing their grievances through the judiciary. But we must also expect that the judiciary itself must live up to the billing to do that which is right. That is why when the company went to the judiciary, he said, no, according to law, you must be invested. And, that should be it. So we must not be in a hurry that, let anybody go there. Even when the facts we know that judiciary is not a Father Christmas. When you go to the judiciary, you must go there with your evidences, or else your case will be thrown out of punishment.
And it's interesting you talk about the judiciary, because an ineffective judiciary has been, cited as a major reason why the anti-corruption war is being frustrated. And of course, it has a knock-on effect on other things.
We have to leave it here
Nelson Ekujimi, thank you so much for joining us this morning. It's been a delight having you on the show.
Exactly. Happy Eid al-Maulud. Thank you.